Hear us, O Lord, have mercy upon us.
Statio at Santa Pudenzianum. The Lenten pilgrim who arrives at Santa Pudenziana does not enter merely an ancient church, but one of the earliest remembered homes of Christian Rome. Beneath the sanctuary lie the remains of a Roman house and bath complex, perhaps the dwelling of the senator Pudens, whose name appears in St. Paul's final letter. Ebulus greeteth thee, and Pudens, and Linus, and Claudia, and all the brethren. Tradition tells us that St. Peter himself was received here, welcomed into this household when the gospel was still quietly spreading through the imperial city. For the Stational pilgrim in Lent, this memory is deeply significant. Before the church possessed basilicas or public honour, she lived in houses, sustained by families who opened their doors to Christ and his apostles. The faith that would one day shape the world began in rooms like these, hidden, fragile, yet full of supernatural life. The church takes its name from Saint Pudentiana, traditionally the daughter of Pudens and sister of St. Praxedes. These two Roman virgins represent a form of sanctity that is both quiet and heroic. Their renown comes not from public preaching or martyrdom, but from charity and fidelity. Ancient accounts remember them for gathering the bodies of the martyrs and burying them reverently when persecution raged. Within the basilica is still shown the well associated with the relics of the martyrs, a powerful reminder that the church was nourished by the blood of her witnesses. For the pilgrim walking through the Lenten path, this detail is not incidental. Lent calls us to remember that Christianity was never comfortable or convenient. The church grew through sacrifice, through courage, and through the hidden fidelity of believers who refused to abandon Christ even when the world opposed them. Lifting one's eyes towards the ancient 4th century apse mosaic, the pilgrim encounters another lesson. Christ sits enthroned in majesty among the apostles, portrayed almost like an emperor presiding over a Roman senate. The imagery would not have been lost on the Christians of the 4th century. In a church, in a city where emperors once demanded worship, the church proclaims that Christ alone is Lord. Behind him rises the image of the heavenly Jerusalem, reminding the faithful that earthly Rome, however great, was not their ultimate home. The gemmed cross at the centre of the scene proclaims the paradox at the heart of the Christian mystery. The cross is the throne of the King. For the Lenten pilgrim, this vision is both consolation and challenge. The path of discipleship leads through the cross, yet the cross leads to glory. The Christians who first prayed in the house of Pudens lived with this conviction. They knew that persecution and suffering did not defeat the church, but purified her. The architecture of the basilica itself quietly tells the story. The foundations remain those of a Roman house. Above them rise the forms of a Christian basilica. Above that shine the mosaics of the triumphant Christ. The building itself becomes a symbol of the Church's journey, from hidden beginnings to visible witness, from persecution to proclamation. And so the station of Santa Pudenziana invites the pilgrim to consider a simple but profound truth. The church is not built first of marble or mosaics. She is built of faithful households, of men and women who welcome Christ into their lives, just as Pudens once welcomed Peter into his home. Lent asks us to become such a household again, to rediscover the faith that once flourished quietly within Roman homes, and sustained the martyrs who followed Christ to the end. Here in this ancient place, where the gospel first took root in Rome, the pilgrim is reminded that the kingdom of God begins not with worldly power, but with a heart that is ready to receive Christ. From such hearts, the Church grows, generation after generation, until the pilgrim people finally reach the heavenly Jerusalem that the mosaic above the altar so beautifully proclaims.